I don't know how long this idiot, we should call it an idio. A video made by an idiot would be an idio.
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
There's stuff popping out of the holes on the top.
You should see how much came out when I lifted it up.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, there's a ton in there.
So Dallas Brown came by and he's working on I want to say it's a 1963 Buick Special. It is a 1 year only vehicle, and finding another hood for this vehicle is basically impossible. And the hood he has is a mess. So after talking to Dallas, kind of looking at the hood, we decided the whole point was just to get it to where we could body work it to make it flat and not worry about how much body filler we needed. Just be able to get it to where it looked good, it looked original, and then we're going to pull a fiberglass mold off it so he could build a fiberglass hood for his race car. We've got a massive dent here where somebody literally jumped on the hood. It's pretty obvious somebody stood on that at some point or jumped up and down on it. There's a wicked divot both in this body line and over on both sides of it, as well as the frame underneath has been moved because of that. So I'm going to evaluate that, see what we can do to get all that straight. All right, so we have a paint job under the primer. Interesting. The problem is there's an oil can in here. Really fucks shit up because that is super stretched out right here. All right, so I think what I decided to do is fill this with weld because that's going to shrink that area, and that's one of the spots I need to do some shrinking. So yeah, let's do that. All right, so any of you expecting restoration quality here, you know what we're doing. So what we've got going now is, starting about here, it comes up and then back down, which is what it was doing before when you oil canned it out, but it didn't want to stay out. It wanted to oil can in. So at least now we've got it stuck oil canned out. So now I think it's just a matter of continuing to shrink down this area across here to pull that down straight. And when that pulls down straight, hopefully it'll straighten out here and here as well. So if this is our hood, or a poor representation of it, right? We had a body line through the center, and then it's got a body line that starts about here and runs down to the front of the hood on either side like that. As you can see, I'm no artist. So anyway, Dallas's hood had a crease right here from a low spot that actually went over this entire area. Getting rid of that big dent was the main key, and that's this guy here. It was like crazy low. So anyway, make a long story short, I fucked it up. I tried to gather in as much metal as possible in this area, and I ended up work hardening it. I got it too hot and cooled it too much, and got it too hot, cooled it too hot, cooled it. And instead of shrinking it, I ended up work hardening it. So I couldn't really bring it back out. I couldn't get it flat. I beat on it and beat on it with hammers. It didn't want to move. And then I used a shrinking disc to try and knock down all the high spots and smooth it back out. And it smoothed it out pretty good, but it still had a pretty wicked low spot, probably somewhere in the 3/8 of an inch range. So my buddy, I took it to a buddy of mine who's better at bodywork than I am. I didn't want to have to pay someone, but I did it anyway. And I took it to him, and what he ended up doing was he ended up cutting a patch into it in this area, because I had already gotten rid of this crease with the bodywork and the hammer and dolly. I got that straightened back out. So this was the area where I had gathered all that metal up, and he just cut it out and put in a new patch. He got this area basically flat. There was still a high spot along this side of the body line, but he got it basically flat. So once I had this part pretty well set, that came up back to where it was supposed to be. And when we raised this part back up to here, the part next to it on this part of the hood that was all stretched out and low popped up into a high spot. Let's go ahead and just pick up where he had already patched it. And I was going back and trying to get all this area back into shape, because this body line, if you're looking from the side like this, was doing this stuff. It was going up and down like this. And it was also due to some of the movement that had happened, it was actually kind of twisted this. It was pulled this way too, because it was stretched out here and stretched out there. So it was just kind of squiggly in both directions. Big problem we have right now is we have a high spot right there on the hood. Now let me show you how I check that. All right, so I've got this piece of wire. It's nothing special. It's a little flimsy, right? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay it down along this body peak right here, right? There's a line that comes up there. I'm gonna line it up right on the side of it. And the reason we're doing that is because we can look at it and see if it's a slow and gentle curve. And it really is. From about here to all the way up here, you can see it lays on the body. There is a low spot here, but that's not much of a low spot, so I'm not gonna play with it. Because the last thing I wanna do is cause more problems elsewhere. The other way I am checking this is with these patterns I made, which is these guys here. And so what I've done is basically cut out this piece of foam board so that it lays properly on the hood, and then I can flip it around the other side of the hood, line it up right there in the middle, and with this peak here, and as we can see, we got a massive high spot right here in the middle. Right there. And you can also see it this way. Hang on, let me set my wire back up. Okay, and then we can also see that high spot here pretty clearly. It's supposed to be touching all the way up to here, like it is on the other side. It's clearly not. It's only touching here, and then it comes off again here, and then comes back up, and it looks kind of okay back here. So what I got to figure out is how I'm going to get this high spot down without creating high spots or extreme low spots elsewhere, or creating new oil cans. The problem with shrinking this area is we got this body line. And so this body line, which I've been working on because it was also part of the footprint, but I got it pretty close back to where it's supposed to be. The problem with pounding down on this body line right now and just beating on it is I can't, or shrinking it I mean, is if I shrink up here and I shrink down here, well, this stuff in here is still too long. So I feel like we may need to do a relief cut. So I'm gonna do a couple of things here. I'm gonna, before I start cutting and relieving to bring that low spot down, high spot down, I'm gonna do a little hammer and dolly work, not a lot, but just a little bit. The reality of it is this is gonna get built up with body filler, so a fiberglass mold can be taken off of it. So we're not planning on running this hood, we're planning on using it to make the new hood off of. Looking at this, I think I wanna do it like that. Actually, yeah, see that low spot's coming back into it. So this side's actually pretty good from the body line over. Right here is where she goes a bit askew. It's got this whole area right here is raised, and that makes sense. That was a giant footprint here. So maybe shrinking this in this area might actually help. So let's try that. I gotta clean this up a bit first before we can do it. That's actually kind of working. Whoa, okay, starting to turn colors. That's too much, too much. Pull down, pull down, pull down. All right, so we got that a bit hot. Let's see if I make things better or worse. Between these two marks, basically. Yeah, I think if we can shrink this, maybe some of this can relieve into it. All right, guys, if you see, we've tried to create some low spots and shrink some stuff up here. And we're getting somewhere, actually. Because if you remember how high this was sticking up before, I think I'm going to go ahead and try and pull this area down just a little bit more. If I can get a little more of this peak out of it, I think we'll be there. The problem is when you get close, you should stop messing with it before you mess something up. So let's keep going. Nice, I gotta shrink that still. But we're close. We're close, close, close. Okay, so we got our little gauge on there, and let's have a look at where we're at now. That is pretty darn good there. Got a low spot here, right in this area. That's not terrible. And then, so look how much better we are up here. That is a million times better. Let's check our profile here. And as we can see, it's much, much closer now. So I think, man, I hate to say it, but I think we could live with this. But since we're having success, I'm going to go ahead and shrink that area down here just a little more. It's still a bit high in a couple spots, like right in here and a little bit here. So I'm going to put a couple more shrinks in it just to kind of pull everything down a little more. So guys, got a little piano man going in a bit. Eardrum. Not totally sure how it goes, but it's sad, it's sweet, and I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes. Oh shit! That's damn good! Alright guys, here's the hood. I know that looks awful, but it's intentional. This whole area was bulged up really high, almost 1/4 of an inch higher than it needed to be in order to get this looking right and level with the other side. So what I did was I put a bunch of puckers in it just to give it a bunch of strength and pull it down. And what we ended up with, let's get our form. Line it up here, line it up there. And if you look, we're touching out there now. And we're touching here. And we're looking really good across most of the form. This has some low spots from those puckers, but that's what I was expecting. I wasn't trying to get this smooth and flat. I don't have those skills, and this hood is too hard to do that with because all the rust on the bottom side of it. It's too unpredictable how it's going to move because it's thin in spots and thick in others. But anyway, that's low. Now let's check our other profile. I mean, that's good. We got that down finally, and this is pretty good too. Let me do this way, maybe a little more stable. So that's all looking pretty good. We got a little bit of a whoop there, but that ain't too bad. As you can see in the front where it was a 1/2 inch upper before, it's like an 1/16 of an inch now. So what we can do is right about here is where it's supposed to, right about where my finger is where this is supposed to touch. So if we just do that, that's what we got to work with. That's the biggest dip Dallas has to fill. So that can be body worked and look like the other side enough that no one's going to notice. It's not 100% perfect to the other side. So I'm calling it here, guys. I know I could do better. Maybe I don't want to create a new oil can or a new high spot somewhere. All right, so here it is. I've gone through with the wire brush and knocked off all the loose rust everywhere except for a few spots like this where I didn't go too nuts on it. There's a few scratches like that on the hood I didn't mess with, but I got most of them, and especially got all this area up in here, which is, you can see, it's pretty hard to get all the surface rust pits out of and whatnot. There's a lot of pits, a lot of holes, a lot of cracks, a lot of crags, valleys, nooks and crannies, single-threaded English muffin. But we got the majority of it, and now we're going to treat this so that that doesn't rust again using this stuff. All right, so there it is. That's about as far as I could get it, but I'm pretty happy with it. I took my templates and I looked at both sides. I compared everything, and we're maybe no more than a 1/16 of an inch off. There was one spot that might be an 1/8 of an inch off, but it's a low spot, because if I didn't say it in the video already, you can fill a low spot, but you can't fill a high spot. So I'd rather have it an 1/8 inch low than a 30 seconds high. We got everything to lay down the way it was supposed to. We got the curve of the hood just right, the crown, if you will, of our hood where it needed to be. And I got it to where, with minor body work and minor amounts of body filler, you should be able to get that thing dead straight with some sanding blocks and some time. And then we can go ahead and pull that mold. So there you go. That's what we did. And I hope you guys appreciated it. I don't know how long this idio, we should call it an idio. A video made by an idiot would be an idio. So anyway, we made an idio. And I don't know how long that thing ended up being, because it was 3.5 hours of footage, even though I didn't film everything. All told, I probably had about 100 hours into this thing. And I know that sounds like a lot to end up with mediocre results. And believe me, a competent sheet metal guy probably could have built a whole new hood in about that same amount of time. So, yeah. But it didn't cost Dallas anything, and that's the important part here. Trying to save him some money. He's been a good friend, and he's done a lot for us. So I don't mind putting the time in on his behalf. He's actually still working on our Buick engine. and he's putting a lot of time, effort, and everything else into that. So I greatly appreciate him doing that for us, and getting this hood to where it was the least I could do. As a matter of fact, I wish I'd done a better job. Could have gotten it even closer than it was. Thanks a bunch for watching. I guess I'll see you guys whenever I see you. And until I do, take care of yourselves.